What's up, guys, and welcome, Daily Theologians. Is the atonement definite or unlimited? Everyone limits the atonement in some capacity, and R.C. Sproul was a bulldog about this point, and I think rightly so. I want to show you, though, a verse from Second Samuel that may change your mind. Check this out. You're not going to want to miss this one. Now, when I say change your mind, I first want to play this clip from R.C. Sproul, and let's get his perspective.
What it's in view here is God's purpose, his design. Did God intend, when he sent into the world his son to die, did he intend that that death would actually save people? Or did he just hope it would? I mean, to ask a question like that is to answer it. You know very well that God knew from all eternity who was going to come to his son and who wouldn't. And he knew that the death of Christ had a definite purpose that would definitely be accomplished and definitely was accomplished. And if you look at it like that, how can you speak of anything but a definite atonement? And so, first of all, the atonement is limited in its efficacy to all who believe. I think we can agree on that. But it's also limited in its eternal design for God's elect, that Christ laid down his life for his sheep. And all for whom Christ died come to Christ, experience his redemption, and are redeemed forever.
Forever. Now, when I say I want to change your mind, I'm talking to the Arminians and Pelagians, because semi-Pelagians. I want you guys to see this from Second Samuel. This is my verse that I found today for you. And for us as Christians, to remind us this is how God has always worked, his sovereign grace. He's talking to basically Eli, and this is a prophecy from Samuel to Eli, from God. Therefore, I swear the house of Eli, the iniquity of Eli's house shall not be atoned for by sacrifice or offering forever. Now, this was in light of the sacrificial system, but if you hold to a universal view of the atonement, this is specifically limiting the atonement. Their atonement will not be for them. It will not be for them. And we see that in the book of Isaiah as well. Check this out. Out of the anguish of his soul he shall see and be satisfied. By his knowledge shall the righteous one, my servant, make many, not all, to be accounted righteous, and he shall bear their iniquities. Well, who is he bearing the iniquities of in this verse? The many. It's right there, right before. And the book of Romans reiterates this point as well. Therefore, I will divide him a portion with the many, and he shall divide the spoil with the strong, because he poured out his soul to death and was numbered with the transgressors. Of course, this is Jesus. Yet he bore the sin of many. It does not say all. He did not bear the sin of people that he was not saving, and he makes intercession for transgressors. This should be very, very common sense, very straightforward. But what gets in the way here with people is pride. They don't want to believe that the atonement is definite. But everyone has a view of the atonement that limits it in either its scope or its effect, and it should be limited to the believers. That's not controversial, shouldn't be controversial. And even in the Old Testament, when people appeal to this humanistic view of a potential atonement, you have to say, well, who is he dying for? Well, he's dying for the church. He's dying for his sheep, John 10. And when you have this wrong view, this Arminian view or Pelagian view or semi-Pelagian view, it's actually undercutting grace, and it's in danger of not actually being grace or saving grace. Because if you think that, well, God did his part, now I do my part, and it's up to me, you're missing the point of actual grace. And so I want to highlight this point, as I do often, so that you see that you are a guilty sinner. You are a guilty rebel. You are not any good. You have nothing good in you. You are not smarter or more wise or more deserving. You are just someone that God in his sovereign grace regenerated, and you responded in repentance and faith. So the atonement is definite to the believers, to the believing ones. The non-believing ones are not saved because God did not choose to save them, and he did not bear the penalty for their sins, or they would be hence saved. You say, well, rejecting him is a sin. Did he die for that sin? And of course, back to not having an actual atonement. That's not a gracious view of the gospel. It does not make God more benevolent. It does not deal with the problem of evil, because even in the Arminian or semi-Pelagian or Pelagian view, which I would say are outside of what is biblical. I'm not saying you're not a Christian, but it's dangerously close if you're, especially if you're Pelagian, and they're all basically versions of the same thing. Then the atonement is limited to those that believe. And the idea that, well, it deals with the problem of evil, it doesn't. It doesn't deal with the problem of evil if you're an Arminian or semi-Pelagian, because it doesn't explain where the desire for sin came from. You see, I did the video yesterday on how thoughts become actions. Well, where did the thought come from to do the evil? Why would someone with a neutral will choose to die? Again, and chance is not a thing. You have no way to explain people that have never heard the gospel in the Old Testament how they got a chance, because chance isn't a thing. It's not a force. It's just the probability of an event occurring. It's an adjective, but it's not an action. It doesn't do anything. Chance does nothing. Hence, the Arminian position is defeated roundly, soundly, and again takes another loss. Thank you to the book of 2 Samuel chapter 3, Isaiah 53, and basically the entire Bible tells us that God is sovereign. He had a redemptive plan in mind. He had a people in mind. He died for a specific people, and is not a God of chance or possibility, but he is a God of definite saving grace, which we should celebrate. So hopefully that's an encouragement. Hopefully you can throw aside your Arminian theology and your semi-Pelagianism and your borderline synergism in justification, because it is a dangerous position. Let me know what you think. Leave a comment below. Take a moment and hammer that like button. Like the 95 Theses. And if you're angry, if you use all caps, I'm not going to respond. Don't do it. Don't do it. I'm not mad at you. I just want you to understand grace. I care about you. I really do. Thank you so much. And God bless.